I'm a very curious person. I'm interested in people. So I get to meet lots of people, stay in touch with a lot of people, learn more about the world. Every company that, I work with is a world. So that's one aspect. It has a lot of problem solving potential, right? Like a lot of small things that you need to be attentive to and figure out. And you need to be resourceful working on it. And there's the hunt, right? Like there's drama, there's building relationship with wealth of people.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. 20-Minute Leaders is a proud supporter of Make-A-Wish Israel and Tech to Peace, and is in proud collaboration with Secret Chord Ventures, J Ventures, Riverside FM, Fusion VC, Birthright Excel, J Impact, Leap, Google for Startups, and Hippo, and in media partnership with CTech. Hello and welcome to a very, very special episode of 20-Minute Leaders. Today I'm with the phenomenal Efrat Dagan. She is an HR wizard with years upon years of experience working with some of the most amazing companies in the world. She's an amazing friend for many years, and I've been learning a lot from her pretty much every day, and especially now as I dove myself into the world of entrepreneurship in a more professional capacity, and she's been just supremely helpful and monumental in building our team and the lessons that she's been teaching me. And so I'm very, very excited to welcome here today Efrat Dagan, a founder of WorkAround, Strategic Talent Acquisition Services. She can pretty much help figure out growth pains. She's led Google Israel staffing for about a decade from the inception of the R&D offices in Israel in 2006, and managed the recruitment of 6 Google offices in Europe, including Israel, Russia, Northern Europe and Waze. She has been with Google for 12 years, and in her last role at Google, she was Global Recruitment Manager at the headquarters in California, and then headed the talent team globally at the Lyft Autonomous Driving Division and at Next Insurance. She was selected as one of the most prominent human resources professionals in Israel in 2014, and she lectures, blogs about the future of world of work, and she mentors entrepreneurs and individuals which are involved in the field. Efrat Dagan,
Yes.
welcome again to 20-Minute Leaders.
Yes. It's been a few years.
It's been almost 3 years, and you were one of the
Just 3 years.
pretty interesting.
We had a pandemic in the middle.
We had multiple.
We moved between continents, both of us.
Both of us moved. The whole world shifted back and forth, hybrid, in office, a recession.
Yeah.
Everything feels like the last years represented 3 decades.
Yeah.
And a lot of it sort of consolidates into some, the very essence of what we do, which is, where we spend our time and the teams that we choose to align ourselves with, the problems that we tackle. You have many years of experience building phenomenal teams, and we're having worked at some of the most amazing companies in the world, not just from a business perspective, but from a human perspective. But you go into the offices, and just to name a few: Google, Lyft, Next Insurance. I have the unique pleasure of having your guidance in what we do.
Thank you.
And so
My pleasure.
hopefully one day we'll add ourselves as a fifth
Another logo on the list.
as another logo of the list. But what I want to focus on today in our conversation is sort of the art of building great teams, because I'm watching you interview, and through our conversations, you're helping guide us on the complexity in this puzzle of identifying the right team members for the right situations at the right times. And I want to unfold a little bit this puzzle. And so, let's start with, what are the things that you are now, looking back when you're approaching a situation, what questions are you even asking about a human resource situation?
Okay. So you're saying, just give me a little bit more detail. So I'm approaching a team who wants to grow or wants to add members, and how do I guide them through the situation?
Even what are the questions? If I were to ask you, if I need some help, I want to build an amazing team.
I actually spent yesterday with a team of with a team of a group that's working on something around machinery model. Never mind which company, whatever. And they came to me with the notion that they felt that they need some help around building the team because they felt that they weren't making the right hires. So what we spent time doing, I think it's just a great example. What we spent time doing was, first of all, I think one of the most important things that is often disregarded or missed is just getting some good alignment. So often people who are actually working on hiring have an idea of what they're looking for, but they don't spend enough time mulling over it and discussing it and reaching some sort of a consensus that will help them make good decisions. So each one of them has an idea of what they're looking for, but they don't have the same views. And using that kind of, using the disparities between them to actually understand what makes sense is a good discussion that typically moves the team forward. So what I spent time with them doing, for example, was we discussed the profiles of who they want to hire. And this is sometime into this is a startup of about 20 people. We spent some time talking about it because they were already doing the job in hiring, but they realized, first of all, we talked about who was the person that they're looking for. What skills do they need? Too often, companies just copy-paste the job descriptions that someone else put together. Yeah. And just thinking about that really...
Add GPT to make one for them.
Exactly, yeah. Which works great. But you need to actually, have a discussion over it and make sure that it represents your own needs. So we had a discussion over that, and we really asked, what would this person need to achieve and what's missing today. It's eventually, we came together to some sort of an understanding of what we're looking for. And then what we spent time over doing is looking at their current hiring process and figuring out if the weights that exist today, the methods that they are using to check are actually achieving the goal. And we actually came to realize that there were some discrepancies and mistakes in the hiring process currently. Not with whomever was hiring, spent time hiring, and not in the actual process of who's interviewing first or next or whatever. Just in really making sure that everything is aligned, that, that they're using the right methods to figure out that there's enough information coming out of the process. So that's one thing. I ask questions about, who do you want to hire? Why do you want to hire this person? What is this person's going to do? How are they going to fit the whole, the whole organizational structure? Not to overstep someone else. How to make sure that it works together. Have they spent enough time thinking about, the diversity of the talent in more ways than one, not just gender diversity? Are they thinking about the trajectory of the talent? Where's this person, comes on to the team tomorrow? How will they grow? Will they have room to grow? How will they develop themselves? Do they have somewhere to stretch themselves? Or are they going to feel bored next day then to join the company, etc.? What's missing in the current talent mix, right? Perhaps you hire a lot of people that are the same profile. You don't have someone with the skills that you're aiming for the future. Stuff like that. It's an interesting conversation. A lot of times people don't just stop. They think about it more in a functional way, Or what I gotta hire, just a job. So it's very flat.
Right. You said a word that I want to delay on just a bit, the word consistency.
Yeah.
And then you said...
Consistency is super important.
So let's dive into it, because then you close the loop with the word discrepancy. And
right.
So they go hand in hand. Let's talk a little bit about this question of consistency amongst a team that is looking to onboard a new person to their team.
Okay. Consistency is important. It's especially important at scale. But even beforehand, say you're going to interview someone who's super talented, and you have your hiring process, and each person knows that they have their interview question, they're going to ask it, but you don't have alignment, you're not sure what you're covering. What happens many, many times, and actually I was in an event yesterday evening in Google campus, and people were complaining about the fact that they're being dragged over and over. So come meet this VP, come meet another person, and the hiring process starts, to kind of like get inflated with many, many interviews, and the hiring processes seem endless. And one of the reasons is because it lacks consistency, because no one sat and thought, what am I trying to figure out here? What data do I need? How am I going to get that data? And make sure that there is, you have coverage of everything and you haven't left anything out. When you have that, you can reach some sort of a consistency also. You can actually make sure that the bar that you're testing people against is similar if you're hiring for the same role. That allows you some agility in the future. You can move people between teams, etc. If you don't have consistency, you might be missing out on great talent because you're making decisions that are probably not great. Very simple. Because everyone asks whatever comes to their mind. You might be, hiring. Okay, interviews are not a super, scientifically, they are not a proven way of, hiring. Like, they have a lot of problems. But in order to make them work, you need that that secret factor of consistency to make sure the decisions are sound. Even when you're a small team, just sitting together, having that discussion of what you're looking for. I remember we did that together. And I think it really helped us, make better decisions.
100%. The way that I'm looking now at it and the complexity of the hiring process, very different from how I looked at it 3 months ago. And that leads to my next question. If you weren't here to tell me that the way that I'm going through the hiring process, I'm lacking consistency and I'm lacking sort of this understanding of
fundamentals, right?
How would I know?
You would learn the hard way.
In half a year.
So what are the pains of not having, a sound hiring process? Hiring mistakes, which are super expensive.
And why are they so expensive? Why?
Because one thing is that, the time this person worked probably has, it just went to the trash, right? But more importantly, missed expectations. You frustrate the person, you frustrate yourself. That's not a nice or comfortable thing to have, having to let people go. Time that was lost, energy, and your product that is going to suffer because you haven't reached the goals that you're looking for. Perhaps problems on the, more wider team, it has so much damage. It's terrible.
Yeah. I mean, it almost feels like there's sort of the instrumental piece of it where you're missing out on the advancement of the company, the product, but the other time, but then there's a whole culture issue, right? As by the time you realize that this is a wrong hire or a wrong match, at that point, I guess the ripple effect of this and by the time it gets to you as a CEO, right? It feels quite a way.
Part of the damage can be that you might lose some great talent because you've hired someone. And they might say to themselves, what's going to happen? Like this company has some people that, I don't think should be here.
Yeah.
And it's also it's wrongdoing to the person was hired to do the job. Struggling at a job that's not great. Like, you come out feeling, you lose, self-esteem, etc. It's not good for anyone.
So there are methodologies to help promote consistency, right? Because I think that coming into my position 3 months ago, I looked at it and said, great, we'll have a job description. We'll get a committee.
You ask, how do you know? So if you find yourself having to do interviews over and over again, or add interviews, or you feel that you are finding it hard to make decisions, you don't have enough data, or the people that you bring on are not the right people, or you're finding it hard to attract people to your company, it's probably just because you haven't really thought out everything about the hiring process. And it doesn't take a lot of time. It just needs some, focus and energy. And anyone can do it. frankly. It just takes a simple conversation. But most people, that's interesting, most people think that they know how to interview, which is probably not true.
I thought I knew. I had no idea.
Yeah. I mean, most people think it just takes up conversation. And truth is, it's not about your personality or experience. It's just, you just need some skills. It's a skill. You can learn it, right? But, you can interview in not the correct way for years and you wouldn't know. I remember at Google, they had this research done, and they figured out that the years that someone spent interviewing doesn't have anything to do with the accuracy.
There was no.
But similar to different things, like spending some time on it, getting feedback, learning how to do it well helps. But, just actually doing it for years without getting feedback or correcting yourself, you can continue doing the same things. And a lot of companies, they would use the most senior person on the team as, the authority on the interview. Like, if you're the CEO, maybe you make the decision, you make the calls. But actually, the CEO can lack interviewing skills just like anyone else.
Yeah, it sounds like there are these. What you mentioned, there was this sort of this cumulative assumption that the higher that you go in the ranks, so the more years you spend in the whatever industry, the more capable you are of interviewing. But it sounds like there are some fundamental skills that need some attention.
Right.
That you can learn, but you need somebody to guide you through that learning.
Now, another way that I know that a company is not doing well is by looking at their interviewing data. When I look at the funnels, I'm like Dr. Pipeline. I look at funnels, I see where things get stuck or where the hiring processes are working. And oftentimes it's because the interviewing skills might be either, missing or just misaligned. And and what it means in the real world, it can be, that you're not hiring whoever you're looking for, but it also can be the fact that you're spending so much energy until you're finding the right person. You're just interviewing tons and tons, spending hours, but not finding your person just because you lack skills or, your hiring process is broken.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing it every time. Like I spent time talking to this engineering manager a few weeks ago, and he was becoming impatient with the candidates because he was doing so many interviews, eventually finding, talent to hire, but spending so much time on it. And it could be solved if there's focus on it. But a lot of companies do not actually track anything, or have like the system overview of the hiring process. They just do it they open the position, try to fill it, just do the interview, they run through. There's no, system oversight.
Yeah. You are a matchmaker. Because while your expertise is in helping organizations build amazing teams, you are also very much aware of the candidate's point of view, and you're very sensitive to it as well. And I think that's also what makes you so good at what you do. What is sort of this experience from the candidate's perspective that managers should be aware of? So we talked until now about how do we make the best process for us as sort of the hiring.
In a way, consistency also helps candidates because they come to a hiring process that's more solid, more...
So what did you find that candidates need to have a good experience?
They need clarity. They need to have set expectations. They need to know what are they going to go through, how many interviews, what it's going to look like. They need to prepare mentally and, technically for the interviews. They need to be treated with respect. I remember maybe a year ago or more, there was this thread in that Facebook group, Salot Behightech.
Mm-hmm.
Someone said, what was your worst interview experience? And I was like gaping when I read it. It had crazy stories that since then, whenever I do an interviewing workshop, I ask the people that come to my workshop, did you ever have a very bad interviewing experience? And you look around the room, there's not usually the majority of people had like a very terrible experience, whether it was just that, no one got back to them or that, they were treated unfairly. And a lot of times it's because the hiring process is not, well thought out from the candidate's perspective. So, you need to figure out how to make it effective, but also how to make it respectful, because you would not hire the majority of candidates that come to your office. But if you do not respond or send the most basic things, be on time, be polite, tell people where they are in the process, that's often neglected. And, people feel badly about it. That's just the easy ones like that. I read some terrible stories there. Really awful stories. And a lot of times there aren't enough. The easy thing is to say there are not enough resources. That's basically, it's just a matter of attention.
Yeah.
Making sure that you prioritize it, because most candidates will not get an offer and you will not hire them, but they're out there and they might make a name for you that you're not interested in.
Yeah. And
or in Glassdoor or something, right?
Exactly. And it's a small pond.
It's a very small pond. Yeah. But just being clear about, what people are, giving people that attention works.
Yeah. It's one of the things that have become, that I had a strong sense of it before, but having gotten to work together these past few months really solidified, is that you genuinely love what you're doing. You really do enjoy it, and you can see it. And I think both we as sort of the hiring side and the candidates, everybody feels it. And now it's a simple question of why. What is it about what you do that makes you so enjoy your work?
I think it matches my endless curiosity. I'm a very curious person. I'm interested in people, so I get to meet lots of people, stay in touch with a lot of people, learn more about the world. Every company that I work with is a world. So that's one aspect. It has a lot of problem solving, potential, right? Like a lot of small things that you need to be attentive to and figure out, and you need to be resourceful working on it. And there's the hunt, right? Like there's drama, there's building relationship with wealth of people. It's funny sometimes. Just yesterday, someone came up to me and said to me, "Efrat, do you remember me?" And I said, "I think my mind is at capacity. I've met too much people. I don't remember anymore." But it's just an interesting profession, because it's very, very varied. And the most important thing, I think, is it's a do-good profession in my mind, because you help people find jobs. They're thankful to you, right? Like you're helping the organization, but also people. It's a little bit like being
a job is even too small to say what it is.
A vocation.
It's literally where they're going to spend the majority of their time, maybe.
Yeah,
and it's
and when it works, it's magic, right?
We see it here. There are literally people like you, or sometimes they're coming. I can definitely see what you're saying. I can.
It's a little bit like being like a doula for a job. Really, you make the right match, and it creates value in the world, and people, and when you do it well, it even works even better, right? Then everyone wins.
It's a win-win for everybody,
right?
And I think that what's nice also is that the alternative sometimes is a win-lose,
right?
And so the default, as what I was hearing, is there's sort of this. The way that the landscape is that currently there's a win-lose situation, because there are these fundamental things that throughout the hiring process people are lacking.
Yeah.
And so we're already in a win-lose situation, and you're coming in, transforming it into a win-win situation. So it's not just creating value out of nothing, it's taking a negative experience and transmitting it into a
fully,
high value proposition. That's
And I think like when the person that, comes aboard and is not the right fit comes aboard, it's terrible for everyone. Maybe they think, oh, I wanted that job. But eventually, like if it's not the right match, then, it probably would not be great for them either. So
Efrat, I really want to thank you. First for the friendship and for the support and also
thank you for inviting me again.
Telling us your secrets that now everybody can use and wave and transmit to win-wins. And I'm just looking forward to continue working together.
Thank you.
Me learning from you, so thank you.